to day 2 of us working on our numbers from 11 to 20. So in the last lesson, we were looking at making the numbers from 11 to 20 on a tens frame using 10 and how many more we needed to make the number, and we were writing them and we were using some Numicon to help make them. And today we're now going to move on to doing that but using one more and one less to find our answer. So before, in last week's lessons, we were doing one more and one less and counting on and counting back. So we're going to do something similar but using bigger numbers this week. So let's start by having a look at the first part of our screen. So it says, 2 more trays are put away. How many are there now? So the first thing we need to do is we need to find out how many trays we have to begin with. So remember the trick from last time. If the trays here are full and we've got a full amount of trays, how many were there altogether? There were 10. Well done. So we had 10 trays made that the tray was full. The unit of trays was full, and we represented that in a tens frame. So we know we've got 10 already. So we can keep the number 10 in our head because we know that it's going to be a teens number, and the 10 is going to be the first thing we have in our brains. So 10, and how many are there in the next unit that are in the unit? Not the ones on the floor, the ones in the unit. How many are there? Count them for me. There are 4. Fantastic. So let's put our tens frames together so we can make a whole number. So we have 10 here and 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So 10 and 4 more is 14. Can you say 14 for me? Well done. 10 and 4 more is 14. So we have 14 trays already in their units for the children to use. Now, we have a question that says, 2 more trays are put away. How many are there now? So we've got to put 2 more trays into our tray unit that are on the floor already. So we need to add them to the number that we have already. So I'm going to get 1, 2 more of my counters, and I'm going to add them to my trays. So count with me. 1 and 2. So we've added 1, 2 more trays to the unit. So now we need to figure out how many we have altogether. And our little girl down here is saying, I will count on from 14. Why are we counting on from 14? Why do you think? I'm going to tell you. We're counting on from 14 because we already have 14 in our units, don't we? Our trays, there's already 14 in there, and we are adding on 2 more. So this is what we've started with. 10 and 4 more is 14, and we're just adding 2 more. So the easiest thing to do, rather than count them all over again, is to start with the number, the last number we had in our tens frame. Start with that number and then add on 2 more. So put 14 in your head for me, and we're going to count together. So 14, 15, 16. We now have 16 trays in our tray units, and all we've done is we've started with 14 like this, and we've added 2 more. 14, 15, 16. So we've counted on to find out how many more we have altogether. We've counted on from 14, and we have now got 16 trays in our tray unit. So are there more trays or fewer trays than before? Are there more or are there fewer? Absolutely, there's more because we've made a bigger number. We haven't taken 2 trays away and taken them out, we've added them in. So we had 14, we added 1, 2 more, and now we have 16 trays in our unit. So I've shown 16 trays in my unit. And I'm now going to make that using my numicon. I know I need my number 10 because 16 is made up of 10 and 6 more. 14 was 10 and 4 more. 16 is 10 and 6 more. So I have made the number 16 using my numicon. 10 and 6 more make 16 all together. There's 16 all together here using numicon, and I made it using my tens frame. Okay, let's move on to the next part, which I think might even be counting back. Let's have a look. Okay, so have a look at the trays for me and see how many there are all together. Have a look for me. So we know already that this unit here is how many? How many are there? It's a full unit, so there are 10. Oh, that's not 10. Silly Miss Colbeck. 10. There we go. The full tray is 10. Okay, so 10 is the full tray, and now we need to look at the next one together. So it looks like this one here. So we've got one row is full, and that is how many? You can count these if you need to. Have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 10 and 6 more is 16. 10 and 6 more is 16. If we wanted to count it, we could put 10 in our head. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have 16. And this little girl is saying, one tray is taken away. How many are there now? And she says, I will count back. So one tray is taken away. In the last part, we were adding trays. Now we are taking them away. So what do I need to do to my tens frame? If I'm taking one away, what do I need to do? I need to take one out. So there were 16 in the trays. There were 16 trays. I've taken one away, which means that I'm taking it out of the tens frame. I'm not adding it, I'm taking it away, I'm counting it back. So now I've started with 16. I've taken one away. So I need to count back to find how many I've got altogether. So 16, count back 1. How many are there left in my tens frame? 10 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 and 5 is 15. So we have 15 left. Now, if it was a little bit tricky for you to do that in your head, I have got a number track to help me. So I know that I had 16. So I'm going to look at my number track and I'm going to find the number 16. Now I had 16. If I'm counting back, am I going to count up to 20 or am I going to count back and make the numbers get smaller? I'm going to count back. So I could start at 16, count back 1, and I land on 15. So I could also use my number track up to 20 to help me work out the answer for this one as well. I don't just have to use my tens frame to help me count. I could use my number track too. Okay, let's go and have a look at your activity for today. Let's have a look at our activity for today. So I have got a similar setup than we had on Monday. So I've got some numbers from 11 to 20 written out, ready for me to pick and have a go at making. I have got my tens frame here, but I have also drawn my tens frame on here like you might do at home, and I have a 1 to 20 number track. Now, you can draw your own 1 to 20 number track out in your book, and you can draw your own tens frame in your book, and as before, get yourself a counter or something that you can use to represent the numbers in the tens frame. I'm going to start by picking a number, and we are going to find what one more than that number is and one less than that number is, okay? So what one more is and one less is. So I'm going to start by picking a number. I have picked the number 12. So I'm going to start by making the number 12 in my tens frame. So 10, and I'm going to add 11, 12. 10 and 2 more is 12. So I'm going to draw in my tens frame like you would at home. 10 and 2 more is 12. So now I want to find what is 1 more than 12 and what is 1 less than 12. And there are a few different ways that you could do this. The first way you could do this is by using your number, your tens frame, and you could take 1 away to find out what 1 less is, or you could add 1 more to find out what 1 more than 12 is. Remember, 1 less is we're taking 1 away, and if we are finding 1 more than, we are adding because we're making more. We're adding 1 more to that number. So that's one way that I could do this. Another way that I could do this is by using my 1 to 20 number track and something to help me jump along my track with. And I'm going to start at the number 12. Whoops. Start at the number 12, and then I'm going to take 1 away. So if I'm taking 1 away to find 1 less, how many jumps do I need to go? 1. Well done. Do I need to go forwards or backwards for 1 less? Well done. 1 less, I need to go backwards. So I'm going to go 1 backwards, and 1 less is 11. Fantastic. Okay, if I'm going to find what 1 more is, I'm going to jump forwards to add 1 on. So 12 and 1 more is 13. So I could do that on my number track, I could do it on my tens frame, and I could do it on both. It doesn't really matter, it's totally up to you. I'm just going to flip this over and have a look with you at writing and recording this down. So I picked the number 12, so I'm going to write the number 12, and I found that 1 less than 12, taking my jump backwards, was 11, so I'm going to write that there, and 1 more, jumping 1 more than, was 13. So 12 I started off with, 1 less than 12 is 11, and 1 more than 12 is 13. So I have a challenge for you now. When you're playing this game, I want you to see if you can find the best way that works for you, either using your tens frame or using your number track. It's totally up to you, whichever way you find easier. And you are going to see how many numbers can you work through. So how many numbers can you pick and find 1 more than and 1 less than in 3 minutes. So you're going to put a timer on for 3 minutes and see how many numbers can you find 1 more than and 1 less than for in 3 minutes. And you can record it in your book and find how many different times you can do it. Are you ready? Are you steady? Off you go.